Sarah Sugden has sadly become familiar with worrying health diagnoses on Emmerdale, ever since she learned she had Fanconi anemia as a child. The rare genetic condition, which is life-limiting, has left the character battling leukemia, throat cancer, heart failure and cervical cancer since her debut in 2005. This time, Sarah's latest health woes are not her own, as she continues to support her grandfather Kane Dingle, Jeff Hordley, through his prostate cancer diagnosis. Next week, Kane continues to hide his news from his family, with Sarah struggling to keep it a secret, especially when it threatens to come between her and her husband Jacob Gallagher. As Sarah continues to steal cars to make some cash for Kane after his wife Moira Dingle's imprisonment and trouble at their farm rocking their finances, she's caught out by Jacob. But will the couple split just weeks after their wedding on New Year's Day? Katie Hill, who has played Sarah since 2017, tells us. Deep down she wishes she could tell Jacob, but she has that loyalty to her granddad. They have such an amazing relationship. She doesn't want to jeopardize that. With a baby on the way, they can't be in this position where they're keeping big secrets from each other. Katie, 22, is hopeful that the couple can survive their latest drama though. She says, hopefully once she explains why it was all going on, he can understand why she couldn't say anything. So fingers crossed, because we've only just got married. It can't be going down here already. We've got a baby on the way, so I'm hoping for some positivity at the end of it all. As for Kane's secret, Katie tells us Sarah is not coping with the pressure of keeping it to herself, knowing Kane is spiraling. She appreciates the fact that Kane has confided in her, and it's a massive thing that he's chosen to tell her about it. But it's definitely difficult, she shares. Her carrying the weight of it on her shoulders, she probably is struggling quite a bit with it. Katie explains that this is the motivation behind her continuing to steal the cars, even after Kane tells her to stop. It lands them both in trouble next week, when Jacob and Sarah's grandmother Charity Dingle find out what Kane has asked of her. Katie says Kane's health news encourages Sarah to bring out her inner Dingle. She says, she's the one that can help him through this right now. They do have such a close bond, and she knows that he would always do the same for her. If she was in trouble, he'd be there helping her through it. He's struggling with the farm. He also finds out that he's not got life insurance, that's what makes her go, oh, well, you're a Dingle. I'm a Dingle. She's not stolen any cars yet, so he shows her the way. I think after the first one, Sarah sort of has a taste for what it's like and the adrenaline and how she really enjoys doing that with him. So she definitely wants to help him out with money. It's also a distraction from his diagnosis. Dingle drama aside, away from the soap, Katie says her co-stars, including Kane actor Jeff, are like her second family. It's such a pleasure to work with Jeff, she shares. Our bond on and off screen is so lovely, and I just learned so much from him getting to work alongside him. I just feel so lucky because to this day, after 9 years of working with him, I'm still learning things from him every day. He's just brilliant. You hear the cast of TV and films saying, oh, it's like a second family, but it really is. There's no other job like it where you're seeing the same people every single day, and we're all just mad. We're all an absolutely mad bunch. On screen, the family could be torn apart very soon when Sarah and Jacob finally uncover their surrogate Charity's unforgivable lie. Fans will recall that after Sarah's cervical cancer treatment, she was unable to carry a child and Charity stepped in to be their surrogate. AS drama continues to unfold in the Yorkshire Dales. The Mirror has launched its very own Emmerdale WhatsApp community, where you'll get all the latest breaking news, secrets, and spoilers delivered straight to your phone. Users must download or already have WhatsApp on their phones to join in. All you have to do to join is click on this link, select Join Chat, and you're in. We may also send you stories from other titles across the Reach group. We will also treat our community members to special offers, promotions, and adverts from us and our partners. If you don't like our community, you can check out anytime you like. To leave our community, click on the name at the top of your screen and choose Exit Group. If you're curious, you can read our privacy notice. When the embryo transfer failed, Charity got drunk and ended up sleeping with her ex Ross Barton. Charity is now pregnant with Ross' baby, and it won't be long before Sarah and the family find out the truth, which Katie says she is not looking forward to. She explains, I can't wait to find out where it goes. None of us know yet. I can't wait to get that script where it does come out, and I can see what way it goes. But I'm also not looking forward to it at the same time, because I love working with Emma Atkins, who plays Charity. And obviously that probably means, once she finds out, there's no way that we're going to carry on doing all these nice scenes together. so I think that'll be hard. Katie says she's been inundated with messages from fans warning her about what's coming. She jokes. The amount of people that message me to say, "It's not your baby," or people say it to me in the street. They always make me laugh. Sarah found out on a damp afternoon, when the sky over the village seemed permanently bruised. Her grandfather, Kane Dingle, was not a man who showed weakness. He was solid, immovable, the kind of man who carried trouble on his shoulders without ever letting it show. But that day, he had looked smaller. "Prostate cancer," he'd said flatly, as though announcing a change in the weather. Sarah had stared at him, the words echoing in her ears. Cancer. Again. It felt like the universe was mocking her, like illness would never loosen its grip on the Sugden Dingle bloodline. "Does anyone else know?" she'd asked, but he shook his head. And that was how the weight landed squarely on her shoulders. Loyalty Sarah had always been closer to Kane than anyone realized. Beneath his gruff exterior, he had been her protector. When she was a frightened child in hospital beds, he had sat by her side pretending he wasn't terrified. When doctors talked in statistics, Kane had talked about the future as if it was guaranteed. So, when he chose her to confide in, it meant everything. But it also meant she was alone with it. Her husband, Jacob Gallagher, sensed something was wrong almost immediately. They had only just married on New Year's Day. Snow falling softly across the village, fairy lights glowing, hope hanging in the air. After everything Sarah had endured, their wedding had felt like a promise that life could finally be simple. And now she was lying to him. Not outright lies, just omissions. Half answers. Distracted smiles. Jacob had always been perceptive. As a former medical student, he recognized the look of someone carrying stress like a hidden fever. "You can talk to me," he told her one evening as they sat in the quiet of their home. She almost did. Deep down, she desperately wanted to. Katie Hill, the actress who had portrayed Sarah since 2017, would later say that Sarah wished she could tell Jacob, but her loyalty to Kane ran too deep. That bond wasn't something she could risk breaking. And so she swallowed the truth again. The farm Moira Dingle's imprisonment had left Butler's farm in chaos. Bills were piling up. Equipment needed repairing. Livestock required feed they could barely afford. And then Kane discovered something that sent him spiraling further. He had no life insurance that if the cancer worsened, if the worst happened, there would be nothing left. That was when he showed Sarah how to steal cars. The first time, her heart had pounded so loudly, she thought it might give her away. The thrill was intoxicating. Adrenaline slicing through the fear that had defined so much of her life. For once, she wasn't the fragile one. She wasn't the patient. She was a Dingle. Kane guided her through it with steady calm. "Quick in. Quick out," he muttered. Afterwards, when the money changed hands, Sarah felt something unfamiliar. Power. It was wrong. She knew it was wrong. But it was also a distraction, from hospital appointments, from test results, from the unspoken terror of losing him. And she liked doing it with him. It felt like reclaiming time. The cracks begin secrets have a way of rotting relationships from the inside. Jacob caught her one evening, keys in hand, panic flickering across her face. "What are you doing?" he demanded. Her silence said everything. When the truth came out, not all of it, but enough, the hurt in his eyes cut deeper than any diagnosis she'd ever received. "You're stealing cars?" he said incredulously. "We're about to have a baby, Sarah." That was the other miracle. Against medical odds, through surrogacy, hope had returned. After her cervical cancer treatment left her unable to carry a child, Charity Dingle had stepped in as their surrogate. Or so they believed. Jacob's voice shook. "Why didn't you tell me what was going on?" "Because Kane asked me not to. Because I owe him my life. Because I don't know how to save everyone at once." She couldn't say it properly. The words tangled in loyalty and fear. The spiral meanwhile, Kane was deteriorating. Not physically yet, but emotionally. The diagnosis gnawed at him. He withdrew. Snapped at people. Avoided medical discussions. Sarah saw it all. She appreciated that he had chosen her. It was a massive thing for a man like Kane to admit vulnerability. But carrying it alone was suffocating. That night she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, calculating outcomes the way doctors once had for her. What if the cancer spread? What if treatment failed? What if the baby grew up without him? She was used to being the sick one. Watching someone else crumble was somehow worse. The other secretors, if that wasn't enough, another bomb was ticking. When the embryo transfer failed, Charity, devastated and drunk, had slept with her ex, Ross Barton. And now she was pregnant. But it wasn't Sarah and Jacob's baby. It was Ross's. The truth hovered on the horizon like a storm cloud ready to burst. Sarah adored Charity. Despite the dingle chaos, there was love there. But betrayal of this magnitude could tear the family apart. Katie Hill herself admitted she both dreaded and anticipated the script revealing the fallout. Working alongside Emma Atkins, who played Charity, had been a joy. But once the lie came out, those tender scenes would likely vanish. Exposure. The walls finally closed in when Jacob and Charity discovered Kane had asked Sarah to steal cars. The confrontation was explosive. Charity was furious, not just at Kane, but at Sarah. "You're about to be a mum," she shouted. "What are you thinking?" Sarah's temper flared. "I'm thinking about my family. And what about Jacob?" Charity shot back. Jacob stood silent, devastation etched across his face. Kane stepped in then, owning the blame. But the damage was done. For the first time since their wedding, Sarah feared her marriage might not survive. Breaking point later, alone with Jacob, the truth finally poured out, all of it. The diagnosis. The finances. The fear. "I couldn't betray him," she whispered. "He's always been there for me. When I was dying, Jacob. When everyone thought I wouldn't make it." Jacob's anger softened into understanding. "You're not a little girl in hospital anymore," he said gently. "You don't have to carry everything alone." The words hit her hard. For years, she had defined herself by survival. By fighting. By enduring. Letting someone else shoulder part of the burden felt foreign. Almost frightening. But maybe that was what marriage meant. The truth comes out when Charity's life finally exploded into the open. It did so spectacularly. The revelation shattered the fragile peace in the Dingle household. Ross's involvement resurfaced old wounds. Trust fractured. Sarah felt as though the ground beneath her had given way. After everything, after the surgeries, the chemotherapy, the heartbreak, this final hope had been built on deceit. Her grief was raw. Not just for the lost baby she thought was hers, but for the innocence stripped away yet again. Still, amid the chaos, something unexpected happened. Jacob didn't leave, he stayed. They fought. They cried. They shouted. But he stayed. The bond Kane eventually told the wider family about his cancer. The secrecy ended, replaced by reluctant support. Moira, fierce as ever, refused to let him spiral alone. And Sarah, she stepped back from the car thefts. The adrenaline lost its shine once exposed. She realized it had been less about money and more about control, about proving she wasn't powerless. Kane squeezed her shoulder one evening outside the farm. "You shouldn't have had to carry that," he admitted. She smiled sadly. "You'd have done the same." "Yeah," he agreed. "But that doesn't mean I should have let you." For once, he looked proud. Not of the crimes, but of her strength. Resilience. Life in the Dales continued, as it always did. Scandals erupted. Secrets surfaced. Weather changed. Sarah found herself reflecting on her journey. Fanconi anemia had once defined her future as short and fragile. But she had outlived predictions. She had built a marriage. She had faced death and returned stronger. This new chapter, supporting Kane, rebuilding trust with Jacob, navigating Charity's betrayal, was simply another test, and she would survive it too. Because survival was in her bones. She was a Sugden, she was a Dingle, and despite everything, the cancer diagnoses, the secrets, the stolen cars, the lies, she still believed in hope. As Katie Hill once said, "Fingers crossed for positivity at the end of it all." For Sarah, hope wasn't naive, it was defiance.